days into the war in the Middle East, the situation has become truly terrifying. What began as a regional confrontation is now expanding into something far larger. Iran continues launching missile and drone retaliation against Israeli and American targets across the Gulf. But today, the conflict has taken a dramatic turn. The battlefield has expanded far beyond the region itself. The United States has effectively immobilized Iran's naval forces. At the same time, for the first time in this crisis, a member of the European Union has been directly struck by a drone linked to Iran. But the real turning point came when France decided it would no longer remain on the sidelines. Instead of simply defending its interests, Paris has inserted itself directly into the center of the crisis by deploying powerful naval and air assets to the Mediterranean. President Emmanuel Macron made the decision knowing it would attract global attention, and it certainly has. What France has just sent into the region could completely reshape the balance of power in the Eastern Mediterranean. And the most astonishing part, this entire chain of events unfolded in just a matter of days. Macron's objective is clear: stabilize the chaos spreading across the region as quickly as possible. But Iran is almost certain to resist any attempt to contain its strategy. So the real question now is this: can Paris actually break that resistance? To understand where this is heading, we need to look at where everything began to spiral out of control. The Strait of Hormuz. Today, this narrow waterway has effectively become a battlefield. The United States claims it has already dealt a devastating blow to Iran's navy. Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of CENTCOM Naval Forces, stated that during Operation Epic Fury, U.S. forces destroyed 17 Iranian warships, including a Fighter-class submarine. According to Cooper, the submarine, one of Iran's most operational underwater assets, was struck so severely that it now has a massive breach in its hull. Despite these heavy losses, shipping traffic through the strait did not immediately return to normal. Instead, Iran made a dramatic and dangerous decision. Tehran announced that the Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20 million barrels of oil pass every day, would effectively be closed. An official from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy warned that any vessel attempting to pass through the strait could be targeted. Almost immediately, ship tracking data showed that tanker traffic dropped by nearly 80%. The waterway quickly became paralyzed. Hundreds of civilian oil tankers and supply ships were forced to anchor and wait. Current reports indicate that around 700 vessels are now stranded and unable to move through the strait. Then the worst fears became reality. At least 3 commercial tankers were reportedly damaged during Iranian attacks, and tragically 1 sailor lost his life. While the United States may have crippled Iran's naval forces, Tehran still retains a powerful arsenal of missiles and drones, and these weapons remain a serious threat to maritime traffic. And those threats are no longer limited to military targets. Civilian energy vessels have also come under fire. In a bizarre twist, one of the ships struck was actually connected to one of Iran's own partners. The Arctic Medagaz, an LNG tanker tied to Russia's sanctioned Shadow Fleet, was hit by unidentified drones off the coast of Libya and caught fire. It has not been officially confirmed that Iran carried out that attack. However, the real collapse of shipping in the region was triggered by Tehran's decision to close Hormuz and threaten any vessel attempting to pass through. The consequences were immediate. Global energy markets reacted with shock. Oil prices surged to $82 per barrel, but the crisis did not remain confined to the Gulf. As mentioned earlier, the conflict has now spread much farther. For the first time, Iran-linked attacks have reached European territory. The most alarming example occurred in southern Cyprus. A drone strike targeted the Royal Air Force Akrotiri base, one of Britain's most strategically important installations in the Middle East. Just minutes after midnight on March 1st, an Iranian-designed Shahed 136 drone slammed into the runway area of the base. Cyprus president confirmed the incident, stating that the strike caused only minor material damage. Still, the significance of the attack was enormous. It marked the first direct strike on the British military presence in Cyprus since 1986. Even though the physical damage was limited, the message was unmistakable. The conflict had reached Europe's doorstep. UK Prime Minister strongly condemned the attack, calling it a dangerous and indiscriminate act carried out by Iran and its proxies. In response, the United Kingdom deployed the Type 45 destroyer HMS Dragon, along with 2 Wildcat helicopters, to strengthen the base's defenses. British forces also confirmed that RAF F-35B fighters intercepted and shot down an Iranian drone in Jordanian airspace. Another drone headed toward Qatar was destroyed by an RAF Typhoon jet. While the United Kingdom was reinforcing its defenses, something unexpected happened. France made its move. President Emmanuel Macron announced a military deployment that stunned observers across the world. During a televised address on March 3rd, Macron revealed that France's nuclear-powered aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle had been urgently ordered to sail to the Mediterranean. This was no minor deployment. It marked one of the most direct European military responses in the entire crisis. The carrier had reportedly been participating in NATO exercises near Sweden in the Baltic Sea, but it was immediately redirected toward the eastern Mediterranean. Macron explained that the mission was aimed at protecting maritime routes and safeguarding Europe's energy security. As Europe's only nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle carries enormous military capability. On board are around 30 Rafale M fighter jets, along with airborne early warning aircraft and helicopters. Together, they form a complete carrier strike group. For Iran's coastal missile batteries and drone launchers, this presents a serious new challenge. But France didn't stop there. Paris is also deploying the Aquitaine-class air defense frigate Languedoc, equipped with advanced anti-missile and anti-drone systems. The frigate will patrol the Mediterranean as part of defensive operations linked to the attack on the British base. Macron stated that the move was made under the Strategic Defense Partnership Agreement France signed with Cyprus in December 2025. Interestingly, the French president also emphasized that this deployment was intended specifically to defend Cyprus and European interests. He even criticized the earlier US and Israeli strikes on Iran, saying they conflicted with international law. Yet despite that criticism, France's actions demonstrate that Europe is no longer merely watching events unfold. Europe is now an active player in this conflict. Before we continue, I'm curious what you think. If you support the effort to keep global shipping routes open and protect international security, drop a comment below and write "Proud of the USA." I want to see how many people stand behind that mission. Now let's continue. France's involvement is not limited to naval deployments. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot confirmed that Rafale fighter jets have already begun patrol flights over the United Arab Emirates. These aircraft have reportedly shot down multiple Iranian drones. The missions were launched after Iranian UAVs targeted French facilities in the UAE. In particular, French forces have been protecting assets near Al Dhafra Air Base close to Abu Dhabi. France has also deployed Aster missile batteries and additional defensive systems in the region. Anti-drone laser systems are now reportedly operational as well. Meanwhile, Europe's broader response is beginning to take shape. Greece quickly stepped forward to support the effort. Athens deployed 2 frigates and 4 F-16 fighter jets to Cyprus. One of those ships is the FDIHN class frigate HS Kimon, a modern warship built with French technology. The goal is clear: strengthen the island's defenses and demonstrate European solidarity against further escalation. Cyprus itself has emphasized that it does not want to be drawn directly into the conflict. President Christodoulides stated that Cyprus is not and will not be a party to the war. Still, the buildup of European forces around the island has created a much stronger defensive shield. Despite these efforts, the damage already done across the region is enormous. Qatar has completely halted operations at Ras Laffan, the largest liquefied natural gas facility in the world. Nearly 25% of global LNG normally passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Qatar Energy has also suspended production of urea, polymers, methanol, and aluminum. This threatens supply chains across food production and manufacturing industries. At the same time, Iraq has halted production at Rumaila, the world's second largest oil field. Storage facilities have reached capacity. That means 1.5 million barrels per day have been removed from the market. Insurance premiums for ships in the Gulf have skyrocketed. Many shipping companies are now diverting vessels around the Cape of Good Hope, adding thousands of miles to their journeys. Energy markets are under immense pressure. Even the Suez Canal and Red Sea routes are now facing potential disruption. Yet Washington insists the crisis will not spiral out of control. President Donald Trump announced that the US Navy is prepared to escort commercial tankers through the Strait of Hormuz if necessary. The United States has also promised political risk insurance and financial guarantees for ships continuing to trade in the region. Heavy bombers such as the B-52 have already been used in strikes against Iranian targets, and B-2 stealth bombers are also operating in the theater. However, using these aircraft constantly would be extremely expensive. Iran knows this. That's why Tehran is relying on an asymmetric strategy: cheap drones, ballistic missiles, and saturation attacks. Experts estimate that Iran still has 2,000 to 2,500 ballistic missiles remaining. Israeli officials say nearly half of Iran's missile stockpile has already been destroyed, but production continues. Even more concerning is Iran's drone arsenal. There may be tens of thousands of Shahed 136 drones available. They are inexpensive, mass-produced, and designed specifically to overwhelm defenses. In the first days of the war alone, more than 1,200 projectiles were launched, most of them drones. This strategy aims to exhaust the expensive defensive missiles used by the United States and its allies. For example, a Shahed drone may cost $20,000 to $50,000, but an SM-6 interceptor missile can cost up to $5 million. That's an enormous imbalance. To counter this threat, the U.S. Navy has assembled a powerful defensive network. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is currently operating in the Arabian Sea, alongside our 6 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and several additional warships. Altogether, between 9 and 13 vessels are active. Each destroyer carries around 90 to 96 vertical launch system cells. These include SM-6, SM-2, and ESSM missiles, supported by phalanx CIWS guns and electronic warfare systems. Together they form a layered defense capable of tracking hundreds of targets. Still, protecting hundreds of tankers will take time. With 700 ships waiting, convoys will likely prioritize the largest and most valuable oil carriers first. And that is why France's carrier group could be such a major game changer. By deploying the Charles de Gaulle, Paris is effectively helping shoulder the burden that has largely fallen on the United States. In other words, the Western alliance is trying to stabilize the crisis while limiting further damage. Iran, on the other hand, appears to be following a far more dangerous logic. If we fall, everyone around us falls too. It's a strategy filled with enormous risk. When the French carrier arrives in the coming days, tensions in the region may ease slightly. But given everything that has already happened, it would be unrealistic to expect the attacks to stop overnight. This crisis may continue for quite some time. So what do you think? Will the arrival of France's aircraft carrier actually stabilize the region, or push the conflict even further? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you support the mission to protect global shipping routes, write "Proud of the USA" below. I'm curious to see how many people stand with that. Subscribe and keep supporting Defense Archives. And thank you for watching.